Hi, my name is Dale Brown, and I have the great privilege of being the senior pastor of Community Church at Ocean Pines. And I am so glad to be with you on this podcast. I'm here with Ted, and Ted is filming, and Ted is just a wonderful guy. I invite you to keep Ted in your prayers. He's having some personal surgery tomorrow. And so just remember him and ask God to give him a successful surgery and complete healing. And today, I'd like to spend just a few minutes talking with you about something that I think all of us deal with from time to time, but is a very important reality for us to learn how to handle in terms of our faith, and that is the issue of anger. One of my favorite characters growing up was Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers. And Zachary, my son, and I were traveling in western North Carolina one year, and there was a documentary about Fred Rogers. And one of the questions he asked during that documentary was, what do you do when you become angry? And the emphasis was, rather than taking it out on a person, was to bang the piano keys like Fred did, or maybe go for a walk, do something physical to allow that anger to dissipate, rather than to take it out in shouting or hollering or raising your voice or getting mad at someone else. And I thought that was really, really good thinking. That was until I went out in the parking lot. And shortly before our trip to Charlotte, North Carolina to visit a friend, I had purchased this new vehicle. It wasn't new in the sense of brand new, but it was new to me, and I really liked it. It was an SUV. And I noticed that when I was in the parking lot, standing behind this vehicle, that somebody had rear-ended me and had done a significant amount of damage to the back of my car. No note was there. They had just done this damage and left. Now, I was given a very wonderful opportunity to put into practice what I had just learned in the movie. I could become angry. I could throw a fit, I could get mad, I could say, this isn't fair, this shouldn't happen to me, I'm in a foreign, not a foreign place, but a place far from home, I'm not sure if the vehicle is drivable, or all of these things, but I chose not to. I chose really just basically to say, this happened. I hope the other person's okay, and to stomp my foot a couple times and to move on. Well, the story is that Zachary found the vehicle that hit us, and it didn't have any damage to it whatsoever. It was a big, huge Jeep, and it was in perfect condition, except for a little bit of paint and a little bit of glass that showed the North Carolina police that it had been the vehicle that damaged ours. It was a teenage driver who had not negotiated the turn coming into a parking space as well as she could. And in fact, it was her sister's vehicle, not hers. Bottom line of this is that we also were able to take the vehicle home. It was fixed, and it ran perfectly for the remainder of time that I had it. Sometimes things make us angry. And sometimes we choose to be angry in how we respond to people and events in our lives. Anger brings with it both positive and negative realities. The positive reality is that there are some things that should make us angry. People being mistreated, persons not being valued. All of these things that we think about in our world that need to be corrected, it's appropriate to have a righteous anger at them. Jesus became angry, didn't he? He became angry at the people in the temple who were selling goods at great interest rates to the poor because they could charge them that as a part of their faithful and religious obligation. And Jesus goes into the temple and he turns over all of the money changers and the tables and the stuff that are in the temple, and he says, "You have taken my house, which is a house of prayer, and turned it into a den of thieves." So we see in Jesus that there are right reasons, right times, right occasions to become angry. But there are also some wrong times. The Bible also says to us, don't let the sun go down on your anger. And be angry and sin not. And I want to say to you 3 things in closing here. And they're taken from this book, written by another United Methodist pastor. The book is called Strength for the Broken Places. It's written by James Harnish, who at that time was the senior pastor of Hyde Park United Methodist Church in Tampa, Florida. He has since retired, but this book has been one of the most valuable books to me that I've had or ever read or purchased. And Reverend Harnish has written some other books that are similar. This is what he suggests in terms of responding to anger. Number 1, slow down. When something happens to us, it would be very easy to fly off the handle, so to speak. But Harnish says, slow down. Be slow to anger, quick to listen. For our anger does not always promote the righteousness of God. Take a moment. Consider the situation. Reflect on what's happening. Be slow to anger. Slow down. As we slow down and consider the larger reality, it may not be as bad as what we think, or maybe it is. But be careful that we don't let anger consume us or control us. Secondly, we can choose to forgive. We don't have to keep that anger inside of us. In fact, anger turned inward becomes depression or rage, but we can choose to forgive. That young lady who hit my vehicle in North Carolina was a brand new driver. When the police reached her, she was in tears over what had happened. Me being angry at her and taking something out on her and saying something to her would not have accomplished anything of value. And as a pastor, as a Christian, me doing that may have in fact negatively impact her faith journey, her ability to connect with God. It's important that we forgive. It's hard work. It's a decision we make at one moment in time, but it's also a decision we make over and over and over and over again. The Bible tells us, by all means, if it is possible, live at peace with one another. Forgive. Be ready and willing and quick to forgive. Now, when we forgive, we have to be careful that we don't put ourselves at risk. No one's saying forgive something big and then forget it, because that might put you in danger of having that same pain repeated. But forgive with thoughtfulness, gentleness, humility, love, but good thinking. And the final thing that Harnish says is look to the cross. For the past several weeks, I have been blown away by, and I don't know why I didn't think about this earlier, the example of Jesus from the cross. And there are two things that Jesus talks about forgiveness there. One includes all of humanity. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. They don't understand what they're doing, the impact of their actions, their beliefs, their practice in crucifying Jesus. And, you know, a lot of people want to blame the Jews for crucifying Jesus. That's not even remotely accurate. Christ was crucified for all humanity. And that means that I, as a Protestant pastor or anyone else, bear as much responsibility for the crucifixion of Jesus as any person. Jesus died for all people because of God's love for us. So look to the cross and look to the example there of Jesus forgiving all of humanity. But he also forgave one specific person, the thief on the cross next to him. The one thief was arguing and fighting and angry and mad and blaming Jesus, blaming everyone. But the other thief said, keep in mind, we're guilty of what we're accused of. Jesus, though, is innocent. And Jesus culminates that discussion by saying, today you will be with me in paradise. Anger, if used rightly, can spur us on to creating opportunities for justice, fairness, and equality to ensure that people are treated well, maybe people who haven't been treated well for years or generations or decades. We have to use and allow anger to work in us correctly, rightly, faithfully, in keeping with what Jesus did in the temple. But so often our anger is just us blowing up and not getting our way, or not feeling that maybe we were treated fairly, or that maybe life is not fair. So be careful with anger. It's a real feeling. All of us as people feel it. Don't deny it, don't stuff it, but express it in a positive, healthy way. Maybe Fred Rogers is right. Go and bang a piano rather than a person. May God bless you, and thank you for listening. Amen.